Good morning, Chamber members. Thank you for joining us this morning for our March Power Hour. Shout out to Leadership Dubuque. I know Nicole's going to recognize you as an alumni, so glad that you're joining us today. We have a great program planned for you today. Ron Black is with us. He is going to talk about leadership, which is a topic that's all near and dear to our heart and something that we all can work on and strive for every day. At this time, I want to recognize our sponsors. Nicole is going to do that too, but we are so thankful for our sponsors. They help make these events possible. So I'd like to take a moment to recognize IMON Communications, the Friedman Group, Anderson Window and Door, and of course, our presenting sponsor this morning, Statera, and the president and CEO and all around great person and chamber board member. We love her, Nicole Hutchison. Nicole, I turn it over to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Molly. Thank you so much. And good morning. Welcome to the Dubuque Area Chamber of Commerce's March Power Hour. I am Nicole Hutchison, like Molly said, owner and CEO of Statera Integrated Health and Wellness Solutions. A very special welcome to the Leadership Dubuque class of 2021. I'm so excited that you're with us this morning. As a Leadership Dubuque alumni, I am so excited for the journey that you're embarking on. It's a fantastic program. So kudos to you for being a part of it this year. Statera is a proud sponsor of the Power Hour, along with Anderson Windows and Doors, IMON Communications, and the Friedman Group. Power Hour is an event for leaders in the community to gain valuable insight from informative presentations. A reminder to all the attendees today, please utilize that chat function if you have any questions at all, and we'll be fielding those at the end of the presentation today. And then as Statera, we bring together traditional medicine, holistic medicine, fitness, nutrition, and yoga under one roof. And so people lovingly refer to us as the one-stop shop for your health and wellness needs. We take into consideration mind, body, spirit, health, and wellness. And we have lots of programming going on at Statera virtually and in person right now. So make sure you check out our websites at stateraintegrated.com or feel free to call us at 563-207-8932 to learn more about the programming we offer for you, for your health and wellness, as well as for your growing family. And so today we are very excited to welcome Ron Black. Hello, Ron, owner of the Mentor Group, and his presentation, Building Your Super Team in 2021, How to Create and Lead High Performance Teams, Even in a Virtual World. Ron helps leaders radically improve their organization's results by unleashing their ultimate competitive advantage, super teams. By distilling his team leadership experience as a former U.S. Marine, founder of 9 companies, wow, Fortune 500 VP, 4-time turnaround leader, and advisor to more than 250 startup and product launch teams, Ron has helped professionals in 49 states and on 4 continents to trust the CAPE, C-A-P-E, to lead with clarity, action, purpose, and enthusiasm, to climb higher, take big, scary leaps, and stick the landing. I love that. Ron lives in the Pacific Northwest, where he is the proud papa of 3 grandchildren, his wife's favorite cook, and an avid trail runner. Me too, we share a passion. Yeah. Please give a warm chamber welcome to Ron Black.
Thank you, everyone. Welcome, and thank you for having me this morning. So thank you so much, Nicole, for that nice introduction. Do you want that 20 bucks now? That was kind of like really nice. You don't always get that kind of introduction in my business, you know what I mean? But hey, you know, now somebody needs to help me get my screen share up going on here. So if my kind assistant, Justine, who's been so kind to me, helping me with her technology, would help walk us through this.
You bet. Go ahead, and I see you're sharing your screen, but we see your email. If you can pick another, if we can pick another screen that has your, well, at least it's just me and I didn't say anything horrible. Well, so if you want to pick another screen that has the presentation on it.
If you guys would, while you're there, if you would answer some of those emails for me, I'd really appreciate it. That would be great.
Okay, we see your screen. We see the PowerPoint if you just want to enlarge that or
okay, I can't see it. How do I make me small? Because all I can see is me, and oh, there I am. All right, here we go. You know, there's what, 50 different web systems that we use these days, different webinar systems. And it's like, where'd that button go? You're on one, you're on the other one, and the next thing you know, you can't figure out where in the heck you're at. So here we go. Wow, finally we got to the Dubuque Area Chamber of Commerce, building your super team in 2021. Quick check.
Yes,
We
we
got
can
it?
see it. We're perfect.
Awesome. What do you know? Technology once again overcomes fear and superstition, defies gravity, and takes us off to a new horizon. Ladies and gentlemen, 2021, as you know, is here. And who besides me says, man, it's about time. How did 2020 go for you, right? Can you imagine 1 year ago today? 1 year ago today, I was sitting in this same office and I was having a wonderful day. I was booking up my appointments for next year and things were looking great and everything was wonderful. I had such a nice looking calendar and had some great places to go for the year. I thought, man, this is going to be a wonderful year. And it went that way for the next week. And then things got a little crazy the week after that. And by the last week in March, every booking that I had on my calendar had been canceled, not just pushed back. It had just been totally canceled. And I said to myself, here we go again, world. And I know my experience is probably not very much different than your experience as well. This has been a pretty wild and crazy year. But let me ask you this, and if you just kind of type into the chat, if you would, a little bit and interact with us as much as possible. And Justine's going to read that chat box to us as things come in. And when she sees notable things, she's just going to butt right in and say, hey, Ron, here's a comment, so that we can stay as connected as possible. But what's your expectations in 2021? What do you think? Better, same, mixed, or who the heck knows? So what do you think? Just type it into the chat box there. And if you see some stuff coming by, Justine, just shout it out for us so we can hear what's going on in our team members' brains right now.
We've got someone who is optimistic, hopefully better, but who really knows?
That's a pretty good summary mention, isn't it? Interrupt me if you get any more and we'll just move forward if that's okay. So I hope that we don't have anything less than optimistic out there today, because you got to stay optimistic. One time when I was a young man in the plumbing business, I got chosen to go back to Kohler, Wisconsin and see the Kohler plant. I just got this free trip because we had sold more plumbing fixtures in the Rocky Mountain area than any other single plumbing shop had. And so they yanked us by the nape of the neck, drug us back to Kohler, Wisconsin. I was 25, 26 years old at the time in my little mechanical contracting shop. And I got to sit across the table from this gentleman, one of the Kohler brothers. And it was in the middle of a recession at that point in time. And things were just crumbling. And man, everybody was screaming, woe is me, the sky is falling, The only person you met in the coffee shop was Chicken Little. It was just an awful point in time in business in the construction industry. And I sat across from Mr. Kohler, and it was such an honor to be able to be in the presence of somebody like that. And I asked him I said, we went around, we saw this beautiful plant, and you guys are building like crazy. You're building a new cast iron fixture foundry. You're building a new China plant over here. You got new automated equipment coming in. So what's up? We're in the middle of the recession. And he looked across the table at me and he said, he says, if you're going to be in business, there's one thing you need to remember. You got to be an optimist. And I think that's true for all of us. And it's time like these, when things are a little bit crazy, that we can rethink our businesses, rethink our teams, and make ourselves ready for this next what's to come. So whatever your expectations is for 2021, I hope that they're optimistic, and I hope that you'll lean into it with energy. Now, on the other hand, I know and you know that we may very well have another killer comet come slamming in like this last crazy pandemic year was. But you know what? When you stop and think about it, every year can be a crazy year. I mean, every year we've got competition. Every year we've got changing technology. Every year we've got changing markets. Every year we have challenges. This year, well, we've had more than our fair share this year. But this next year, I thoroughly expect that we will have an uncertain future, as so well summarized by our participant who let us know just a few moments ago in the chat box. It will be uncertain, no doubt about it. Nobody knows what's coming behind this thing. And anybody that does, well, they're either crazy or more bold than we are, right? Also, I think that we can pretty well count on the fact that we're going to have some strained resources. I mean, even in the best of times, we never have enough of anything. We never have enough good people. We never have enough resources. We never have enough time. We never have enough money to put into things. I mean, we are always operating with constraints. We always have in business and in nonprofits as well, and we always will. So strained resources, that's what we do for a living, right? We get the most out of what we got to work with. And the other big one that I see happening all the time that I think that you and I and all of us we haven't mastered it, but we've certainly got a master's degree in it this year, is this rampant change. Man, things are changing like crazy, and they will continue to change like crazy. They always have in our lifetimes, and they always will. But the thing that's different now is the rate of change. Let me tell you a little bit of story. I was so lucky to have met not one, but two, and to have known well two of my great grandmothers. Now, not everybody gets to meet their grandparents, and I was really, truly blessed being able to know two of my great grandmothers. One of them, way back in the 60s when I was a young Marine, she and I sat at my Uncle Don's outdoor table by his pool in Southern California. He was the rocket scientist dude. You know, he worked for the Skunk Works, and he built flying machines. And we were there. I was out on leave, and my grandmother and I were watching. We're watching an amazing event on TV on my Uncle Don's little portable 5-inch screen, black and white TV out by the pool. And as I sat there with my great grandmother, she and I watched an amazing event. Now understand that this woman had grown up in Tennessee. When she was a young woman, this was in the headlines. Otto Lilienthal takes 2 broomsticks, a bed sheet, jumps off the hill, and conquers man flight. Wahoo! Can you imagine? She was a young woman when this event occurred. And there she and I sat, spellbound, as Neil Armstrong took that giant leap for mankind. Boy, what an amazing deal that was. It just got my head spinning, right? And now think about that, one woman's lifetime, and things were just getting started and changed then. It was just starting to amp up, you know? I mean, good grief, Mars, how amazing is this? We have gone so far with technology and our sciences that we have now built a parking lot, not one, not two, but multiple vehicles on Mars roaming around these days. It's pretty amazing. And one of my favorites, of course, is thank you, Elon. I mean, what a sense of humor. We've even got a Tesla somewhere out there in a big old loop around the sun someplace. You know, change. If my great grandmother could have seen this, she probably would have just shook her head, thumped herself on the forehead, and said, whew, well, if you got to do it, I guess you got to do it, Elon. Change is nothing new. Change is here with us, and change will forever be with us. This year is one of those great years where I hope that we can take our change resiliency and our change skills and move our teams into further, greater expectations. Look, there was a guy by the name of Theodore Modis, a professor at UC Berkeley, and he studies change and the way it changes, not just how it changes, but the rate it changes. And he sees change as these moments for a long period of time, nothing really changes. It almost seems stable out there. We all get satisfied with our area, with our organizations, with our business. And then events come along and they kind of smash into one another and change erupts. He calls these events punk-eek. It's a biological term. And it's kind of like a tipping point for biological effects. So it gets to that point, it's triggered, and it's just an explosive event. Now you think about it, and for literally thousands and thousands of years, people roamed around, and the biggest technology change was, you know, changing the way that we made a stone tool, and that worked pretty good for a couple thousand years. And then somebody else says, hey, I got a better way of doing that, and that goes across the countryside. So, you know, things didn't change very much for thousands of years. And then along came farming, and along came technology, and along came science, along, et cetera, et cetera. And change doesn't change just at a steady linear rate. Change doesn't even happen at an exponential rate anymore. Now change is so fast that it is literally explosive, these punk-eek events. We can't even draw it on a logarithmic scale anymore. That's the kind of change you have survived. So take just a minute. If you're here today with us and you're well, thank goodness, and pat yourself on the back because you just survived a major change event that has been unheralded in the history of humankind. Much to Theodore Modis's expectations, I might add, a technology, a biology, and a sociology areas have collided and just tremendous change. We've witnessed it this year. We've experienced this year. We've lived through it this year, thank goodness. Look, you guys are a tough bunch of business professionals, and you can make 2021 a good year. I'm counting on it. Your families are counting on it. Your companies are counting on it. So change, boy, it hasn't slowed down and it's not going to slow down. And I think that's why this playful metaphor that I use of an everyday superhero is effective. Now, this guy that you see here is allegedly my old friend Johnny. Johnny's been a lifelong friend of mine. Johnny's the guy that introduced me to superheroes. When he'd come over to the house when we were 8 years old, he would say, Ronnie, let's go play Superman. Huh, what do? You take a towel, you put it around your neck, and you fly around the neighborhood and you solve all the world's problems. One day, Johnny and I were solving the problems and we climbed up on top of our neighbor's garden shed. Now, we thought that this was probably a good idea at the time because, as you know, it is easier to climb up than it is to climb down. Well, we got up on top of this thing and we couldn't get down. And so I'm looking at Johnny and he's looking at me, and we almost ended a friendship right then and there. But eventually we came up with an idea. Well, I say we, Johnny came up with an idea. He backed up to the far edge of that roof. He put his head down, and with his steely eyes of determination, he took off running, his cape flapping behind him. He leaped off the top of that garden shed like he was a real, genuine superhero. All I could say when he went by was, no, no, no. He went out of sight. I heard a ka-thunk. I thought, man, he's going to be broken in a million pieces. I went over to the edge and looked down off the edge of that garden shed, and there was Johnny. He was getting up. He was spitting grass out of his teeth and dusting off himself. He saw me looking at him, and he immediately assumed the pose. You know the pose, right? You can go ahead and assume it right there in your own office if nobody's looking, okay? He put his feet wide. He put his hands on his hips, and he cocked his chin, and he looked up at me, and he said, Ronnie, you gotta trust your cape, dude. Well, what can you do in a situation like that? When your leader demonstrates with enthusiastic action what needs to be done can be done. That's what team leadership is made of. So here we are, fast forward about 10 years. Ronnie, I'm going to join the Marine Corps. Johnny, you're crazy. Ronnie, we'll be okay, man. It'll be great. You'll always be a Marine. Johnny, don't know if I always want to be a Marine. Johnny, trust your cape, Ronnie. It wasn't many more days after that I was standing on yellow footprints in MCRD, California, and people were screaming at me who had no reason to scream to me as far as I was concerned. But there you are. That's how I got in the Marine Corps. Now, fast forward 5 years later. Johnny's down to the far end of the aisle. My knees are shaking. My lovely bride-to-be is coming, walking in as the music starts playing. And Johnny's standing there on my left-hand side. My bride's down at the far end of the aisle, and my knees are knocking. I'm hoping nobody's seeing them. And Johnny gives me the old elbow, and as he pronounces, as you go, you know what he said? He kind of like this spittle came out, like when you're laughing, you're not supposed to be laughing right now, but you're going to laugh anyway. So the spittle came out, and Johnny said, dude, trust your cape. And thus, I became a married man, which I am proud to say, holy moly, 4+ decades. I don't know how that woman does it, but been good for me. So everyday superpower, sometimes we just need to climb a little bit higher than we think is comfortable. Make a good plan. Don't be crazy about this, right? Have some options and have a fallback plan, but take that leap. Take that big, scary leap. Stick that landing. Everyday super leadership powers. This is how we build great teams. A couple of years ago, I was zooming down. Well, I wasn't zooming, I was trundling. When I run, well, I don't really run, I trundle. And I was trundling through a marathon in Portland. We were at mile 24, 25. I don't know, man. My head was cloudy and my vision was blurry and my lungs hurt, and I wasn't a very happy camper. And this dude went zipping past me so fast, I thought I was standing still. I checked my pace. I made sure I was still moving. I thought, was that Superman? I could see his cape flying off in the future. I thought, geez, I got to go catch this guy. So I ran as hard and as fast as I can. He motivated me. I had a new leader in my world. And I'm happy to report, I caught him. Well, I caught him in the beer garden, but I did catch him. He was gracious enough, and this gentleman let me take my picture. And we've been, Facebook friends ever since. But it's an amazing thing what somebody can do to inspire others. And you never know quite how you're doing it. Oh, by the way, did you notice this dude's pose? Man, he's got it going on. And he looks way better and liker than I would. So trust me, right? Trust me. If you learn how to trust your cape, if you'll, as Johnny would recommend to us, trust your cape in those times when you're not quite sure what to do. And if you think about clarity and action and purpose and enthusiasm, things will come into order for you. I guarantee it. You're tougher than you think you are some days. You know what I mean? Here's a cool thing though, right? Yeah, you, yes, you, yeah, go ahead, raise your hand. Come on, assume the pose. Thank you, thank you. Thanks for playing along with me, you guys. You're all good sports. Who, me? Yeah, you. Look, I trust you. It's really not all that bad. And I promise you, you will not have to wear Lycra tights. Fair enough? All right, let's pop on into some of the genuine, solid science of leadership. What's your natural leadership style? Everybody's got one. You know, we can't veer too far from our natural selves, right? And I don't want you to, because your natural self got you here. You've been successful at this point. You're going to be even more successful in the future. So don't veer too far. Just add some stuff into where you're at is what I think we ought to do. I think that leaders have two different types of styles. One is kind of a manager style, and one is kind of a leadership style when we have positions of authority, when we have responsibility in organizations. And if you look at this, you can say, call one a corporate style. You put your corporate body armor on and you manage like a corporate manager should manage. And the other side is my leadership style that I call this trust your cape, this super power, super team leadership style. And so I kind of liken that with a person wearing a cape. And frankly, you know, one's not better than the other. I want to remind you that you're probably good at one or the other, maybe both. And that's our job, is to make sure that we use both of these styles. For example, we need to champion the rules in corporate America. Absolutely. The rules are important. They're there for a purpose. They're there for safety. They're there for process. They're there for methodology. They're there for fiduciary responsibilities, et cetera, et cetera. The rules are important. We got to follow them. On the other hand, a cape leader champions people and focuses on people. Now, you can't have one or the other. We need both. Would you agree? Think about this one. Corporate people sometimes are very good at keeping stakeholders happy, right? Keep the boss happy, keep the boss's boss happy. You bet. That is a job skill that's important. However, the cape people are very interested in keeping our stakeholders engaged, not necessarily happy, but engaged. Corporate managers focus on stuff. They manage stuff really well, inventories and systems and numbers, etc. Cape people focus on results even more. They don't let the numbers cloud the results so much, and vice versa. Again, we need both. And sometimes people will get a promotion and think, it's going to give me power. But you and I know it gives you authority, but it may not give you power, right? And you and I know that it gives you responsibility, but it may not give you power. Super team leaders know that power comes from the people. Your sidekicks are the people that make it happen. Our sidekicks are where the true power in our organization lies. Fair enough? I believe that for those who can manage and lead, that there's nothing that can stop your team. I'll drink to that. How about you? I want you to mobilize with, first and foremost, a clarity of purpose. So of the four elements of CAPE, you can put them together in different ways, but clarity of purpose is the most significant, most important, and one I don't want you to ever forget. Clarity of purpose. Man, it's such a key thing whenever you're trying to do a project, an initiative, a change, a day's work, improve productivity. Clarity of purpose is everything when it comes to improving performance. In fact, great organizations have such a solid clarity of their values and their belief systems, the decision making becomes easier. And even when the world changes at punk-geek speed, or when the comet crashes into Earth, what we can do then, as long as our core beliefs and purpose stays intact, we can then rapidly change our strategies and tactics and adapt effectively. And if you're really good at this, we need to be able to adapt as fluidly as the environment around us is changing. Boy, dwell on that one for a while. This year, there has been very few companies who have been able to adapt as fast as the world around them has changed. But there have been some. You may well be one of those companies yourself. One thing's for sure, if organization is not changing as rapidly on the inside as the world is changing on the outside, the end is near. So let me ask you this question. You didn't know you were going to get a pop quiz again this morning, did you? Sorry, but it won't be, it'll be fairly painless. Can you articulate your core beliefs and purpose? Take a moment. I'm going to give you 20 seconds. Doesn't sound like long, but for superhero leaders, there'll be plenty of time. I want you to think of the three key things, the three core beliefs, the three core missions, the three core visions, the three core things that make your organization what it is, that keeps you and your company, your organization successful. Can you articulate it? I'll give you 20 seconds. I'll watch the clock and type it in, please. Justine, as some ideas come through, would you please read them to us? It'll help other people think about their missions as well. 20 seconds begins now. I'll watch my clock. Go. We're about halfway there. Okay. Did we have any takers? Was anyone able to articulate?
We've got a couple brave souls. Our first one, Ron, says quality, personable, and results. Rena says agile, customer focused, and data centered. And Sean says integrity, patient focus, evidence base.
Beautiful. These are such great examples. Thank you guys. Outstanding work. I bet if I walked into your organization and looked around, it would be pretty darn obvious that those beliefs are shared by your teams, because if we can articulate them, it's probably we're living them, and our team then can begin to live them as well. And let me show you some of the power in this. You see, what you're building with those three ideas is a company culture. It's the way you do things. Now, I learned as a young Marine that there was a Marine Corps way and there was a Marine Corps way, and no other way counted. That's just all there was to it when you're in that organization. But you know, for 240 plus years, they have been doing a pretty good job. And for 240 plus years, they are building a culture. Their three key ideas have become a culture, and it has lasted through some pretty crazy events over time. Culture is a powerful phenomenon, and it can drive success. By the way, it's easier to break than it is to build. So culture is something I believe we need to work on constantly, all the time. We need to really walk our talk on this one. Now, the Marine Corps, you know, back in 1775 had these three key ideas. They had duty, they had honor, and they had country. And that's the way it was in Korea and World War II and the Vietnam War and over in the Gulf Wars. That's the way it's today. If you bump into a young Marine, as I have so many times in my travels, and give them the old elbow and you laugh about it, you know, and you say, yeah, are you sorry yet? And you have your kind of one-on-one friendly chat and laugh about your shared experiences. Their three core events are still duty, honor, and country. Have been, shall be. Pretty amazing organization that they have developed. Now, I used that same thought process when I got out of the Marine Corps, got out of college, looked around, couldn't find a marketing degree in Wyoming at that point in time. My wife still had a semester of college left, and so I needed to get busy and earn some money so that she and I and our two children could continue to live indoors and eat on a regular basis. So I did what any red-blooded American would do. I started a business. And because I had grown up in the construction trades and my father had had a plumbing shop, I knew the trade. So I started a little plumbing shop. Our plumbing company was called Alpine Plumbing. And in 3 years, we built Alpine Plumbing we started in married student housing out of the back of the family pickup truck with a $500 credit line on our MasterCard charge. And in 3 years' time, we built that little company in Laramie, Wyoming, a little podunk town in Wyoming. We entered the top 100 in the nation in mechanical contracting companies. And we did that because, well, there was a good market, thank goodness. And we had some really motivated people who had fun together, working together. We really built a super team. And we built our super team around these three core words. We made sure that we always did things right, No matter what else, you got to make a decision. The boss ain't there, your supervisor is there. Make sure you do it right. Number two, make sure you do it with pride, because we take pride in everything we do around here. And make sure that you do it fast, because in the construction industry and that competitive industry, fast means profitability. Right, pride, and fast. That was all everybody needed to know if they wanted to work at Alpine and be part of our super team. And it was a very cool little company until, of course, the bust, right? Change, punky event, explosive change. And what do we have? We've got a world coming down on our ears because coal and oil were cut off in Wyoming. The cartel came up, blah, blah, blah. Uranium was cut off. And we had about 30% of the people who lived in Wyoming at the time move in 18 months. It was like the grapes of wrath. So I moved too, because we needed to eat. So I went down to my sister's home in Scottsdale, Arizona. I hopped on her couch. I would read the paper every morning, and I'm going to get myself a job. So I'm looking at want ads. And, I'm kind of not a corporate guy. I'm kind of a small business person, but, we needed to eat. I finally found this ad. I'll never forget it. It said, wanted, Fortune 500 defense electronic company needs Western Regional Field Office Admin Finance Manager. Good pay and benefits. I stopped right there. I was hungry. I called them up, got an interview, got another interview, got another interview. After about 5 interviews, these fools finally hired me. Did I know anything about defense electronics? Well, not really. I had fixed radios in the Marine Corps. Does that count? I could talk a little dB and gain. Do I know anything about running a field office? Well, not really, but I'm a small business guy, so, kind of climbing out of my comfort zone here. I have a marketing degree. Does that count? Does that help? It's a sales division. I was like so far over my head. I really didn't know what to do. So I decided, well, let's just figure it out. Let's work with what we've got. And I looked around, and the way I saw it, this organization needed to do 3 things. They needed to get their sales up, they needed to get their costs down, and they needed to take better care of the people, because they were really, we'll just leave it right at that, okay? So those were my 3 mantras. And with those 3 mantras, I went around my little field area of 9 field offices on the West Coast, and I talked with people and I listened to people, and I used this process to discuss, collaborate, how we could get sales up and costs down. I didn't know how to do that, but all those people in those offices did if I just helped them work together, build better teams. And that's what I did. It took 7 weeks, literally 7 weeks to the day. Danny Gallagher gets on the phone from Boston, Mass, the headquarters, world headquarters. Now, Danny is the number 2 guy in this Fortune 500 company. He's my boss's boss. He calls me up personally. I just knew his name. I get on the phone and he says, Black? I said, yes, sir. He says, this is Gallagher. I said, yes, sir. I thought, man, is this how they fire people at this company? Is this how they, I thought I was going to get fired. But he said, Black, I want you to get back here to Boston. Bring your wife, make sure she likes the area. But I want you to do for the rest of the world what you've been doing for the West Coast. And I didn't ask him what I'd been doing for the West Coast, although I was saying, what have I done for the West Coast? Right? But he said, get back here and do it for the rest of the world. So I went from 7 weeks from being a plumber in Wyoming, no kidding, to being a Fortune 500 defense electronics vice president. What do you do? At the ripe old age of 30 years old. I'm going, oh, wow, that's a head shaker. So I didn't know what else to do except literally take Johnny's advice, climb a little higher, take that big scary leap and see if it all works out. It turned out to be a great project for me. So here's your homework assignment. If you couldn't come up with your 3 core beliefs, please work on it. Talk with your teams. And if you think about it a little while, let it soak in, boil it down to the 3 key elements that you have to do to build your business. And it will serve you year after year, month after month, quarter after quarter, financial after financial, right? Now, rule number 2 to become a better superhero leader is to mobilize. And you've got to mobilize with action, because as you know, leadership is an action word. You can't just say, go do it. You have to say, let's do it. Let's come and do it. So it's the actions we take, not what we say, that people really listen to. I had this little project over in Southern California for one of my clients. This guy, I just love these guys. They're really nice people. Paul and Elaine, they would buy and sell businesses, and they could see a really good business opportunity, and they would buy that opportunity and then sell it a couple years later. Or they would buy a broken business, and then they would have me come and fix it, and then they'd sell it a couple years later. But what I really loved about them is even the ones that they bought that were good, they'd usually break them, and so they'd have to have me fix those too. So they were one of my key turnaround clients for years and years, and I just love these people. But what I did so often for them was literally just bring the richness out of the organization. I didn't know how to do this or that or the other. I didn't know those technologies, those businesses, but I did get the point of how to help others solve the problems as a unified team group. So a super team culture, if you can build a culture, we do it around action. But how do you get actions? Once you got actions, you're going well, because every time you see somebody on your team do something that's right, do it with pride, do it fast, well, then that creates a climate of right, fast, with pride. And when that climate gets pounded into everybody and systemic, it becomes a culture. And that's the real power of these actions that turn into climates, that turn into culture. And that culture in turn motivates that attitude to do things right. So this is a system that is a helix. It's a reinforcing, self-reinforcing system. And if you can get it going, you can get it going. It's amazing where these things will take you if you keep people focused, clarity of purpose, and enthusiastic action. Now, and just as an aside here, in turnaround events, or if you need to change a culture, where do you start? Got any votes? How about typing into the chat? Where would you start if you're trying to improve overall company culture, team culture? Where would you start? Can you start with climate? Can't start with culture, can you? The action's pretty good, but I think even primary to action is attitude. That's where enthusiasm comes in, right? Because somewhere before action, would you agree? Attitude has got to kick in, and that intention has to be there. That heart has to be there to kick in.
Attitude is what we've got in the chat, so they're all on the same page.
Awesome. Okay. In Northern California, there's a building that I have worked in over the years. I've worked in this very building, over 30 years of consulting business. I've worked in there 3 times for 3 different companies in 3 different industries. None of those industries even exist anymore because change has come and gone. Change comes and goes, and technology ramps up, goes away, and ramps up and goes away. Anybody besides me ever actually use a telephone that had 2 cords? These things go pretty fast. So the markets change so rapidly. What this building really ought to have a sign. Every time I drive by there, I look and see who's in there this time. And what this really needs a sign out in front is what they really need is not a renter. What they need is somebody that can be a courageous leader, somebody that can adapt to change as rapidly as the world outside is adapting. That's no easy thing. No, there goes a superhero leader now. I knew he was there. Okay. Caution, because even superheroes need to plan. So I would like to plug my book. I've got a great book here. I think it's great. My mom thought it was a great book. In any case, this is a planning guide, and it connects project management methodologies as little, the least you need to know, with team leadership abilities. Yeah, it'll set you back $10, and that's a shameless plug on my part. I'll make 36 cents a piece on it, so thank me for that later, okay? But that's my shameless plug. You can get it on Amazon, okay? Look, mobilize with enthusiasm. Clarity of purpose and enthusiastic action is where we're going with this. Now, let's talk about the science of building companies. I didn't know, I knew in my heart of hearts that if you got engaged employees, businesses got well, they got better, they did better, they delivered better. It's more fun to work there when employees are engaged. But I decided what I really needed to do was find some numbers. So I did a search 2 years ago, and I found over 30 some reports, academic reports, studies on how engagement builds an organization's strength and profitability and growth. And here's the numbers I found. Now, all of these different academic reports, studies, they're all a little different. So what I ended up doing was just condensing the information, so I had an average of each of these elements that shared on these different reports. So the three key things, and if you will, what do you think engaged employees create most of? All right, what do you think? Okay, so if you got an engaged employee, what do you think about service? Do you think service is going to improve? You know it in your heart of hearts, right? I mean, that's really a forehead slapper. And how about your churn rate, employee churn rate? You think that's going to go down? You think you're going to retain employees longer, that people will be there longer? You want to train so many people that they'll be a better organizational wisdom? You bet. This is a positive event. And how about productivity? Would you think that productivity go up? If you did, you are right. And these are the top three elements of the list of benefits that engaged employees create. And of course, you put those three together, and what do you got? You got what I call high performance results. That's what I call a high performance team. So if you go back in and look at the numbers, here's what the numbers showed up. 73% improvement in service was what the number was as an average across 7 of these 30 plus reports. I took 7 of them that shared the data, and there we have a 73% increase in the apparent level of service within the organizations. Would that be a good thing to have? Yeah, I'm with you there. I mean, the number was just mind-boggling to me. Retention was another mind-boggling number. It's hard to hire good people. It's hard to find good people. It's hard to keep good people in the good times. And if you've got engaged employees, you can reduce the churn rate of employees by 87%. And I look back in my experience, I said, could that number possibly be right? And yet, when I look back at the companies where we had engaged employees, in my heart of hearts, it feels right to me. It feels legitimate. These numbers do. Productivity improvement by 12%, which is another stunning number. I don't know any publicly traded company on the planet who would not do desperate things to get a 12% increase in productivity. I don't know any plumbing shop in the planet who would not do desperate things to get a 12% increase in productivity. And yet that's what engaged employees can produce. Now, the result of that, obviously, you can build your organization's strength, you can build the organization's profitability, and you can build the organization's growth. Now, the numbers aren't done. Profitability for these companies of engaged employees went up by 16%, and growth went up by 33%. If you can get even a fraction of that, taking time to engage your employees, well, it's worth it, isn't it? That's what I call a super team. That's the definition of a super team in numeric terms. So super team, here we go. So how do you lead and cultivate high energy engagement, right? Well, it isn't that hard. People may have been experiencing change at different rates, but we people are still people. And if you think about it, you've probably never really met an unmotivated person. That person maybe just wasn't in the environment that was motivational for them. But here, I know your deepest, darkest secrets, and you know my deepest, darkest secrets. You know what motivates me? I'll tell you what, same thing that motivates you. Feeling welcome in a small work group. There's nothing as motivational as being part of that organization. Being heard. Somebody asks, you get the opportunity to say. Just being heard, having a voice. Isn't that powerful? How about when click, click, click. Oh, when people know that you're capable, then that you're able and willing to do the work, that you have a meaningful role, not just the junk jobs, but you actually get some challenging jobs, some hard work too. People like hard work. People like difficult jobs. Why? Because it's meaningful and it shows they're capable. And we all loving a central locus of control. We all loving some control, even if we're in pain, right? We like to at least be able, right, to control the amount of pain we're in, right? I mean, if we have some control, we can do some pretty amazing things. But being powerless, that saps all the power out of everybody. Last but not least, people need to see that success is at least possible, that there can be a light at the end of the tunnel. And I believe that is where we're at in March of 2021. I think that success is possible. I think the light is starting to burn. And now there's no better time than right now to build your super team for 2021. Now, SuperTeam actions, if you use the academic studies, I'm going to rip through these so fast they'll make your eyeballs spin, okay? But Noster's data is probably the best in the industry on this. And the way he says it in academic speak is to articulate shared vision and values. For me, that's clarity of purpose. He says to foster a climate of trust and respect. You know, I'm saying to myself, well, no kidding. Doesn't everybody do that? It doesn't even seem like it needs to be on the list, but I know it does. I know it does. To encourage collaboration. Well, from my standpoint, when I go in and turn companies around and do startups, I don't know what's going on. You know, all I know is that those people know it better than I do, and my job is to encourage them to get that information out. I encourage that collaboration. I harvest their wisdom because I know that I don't know the answers. I know my ideas aren't the best ideas. So this to me is such a natural thing to encourage collaboration. Well, duh, no kidding, man. Get the team, get the people doing the work to give you their best ideas, right? I mean, that to me is leadership in a nutshell. Of course, we need to challenge perceived limits and barriers. You don't need to be like senior drill instructor Stelling to do that either. You need to be more like a colleague, a friend, like my buddy Johnny, right? Someone who knows you well enough they can challenge you and it won't hurt your feelings. That's what I mean by challenging perceived limits. To support intelligent risk-taking, my pop was so good at this. You know, he would always have a plan B, you know, and he'd look at a worst case scenario and a best case scenario, and he'd know darn good and well it's probably not going to be either one of those, right? And he would kind of put bookends on the risk involved. What's the worst could happen? Well, what's the best could happen? And walk you through these scenarios. And I think that's a good way of supporting intelligent risk-taking, to create a sense of urgency and focus. And I think that's where urgency comes in, good goal setting comes in, project start dates, finish dates, start no later than dates, finish no later than dates, tagging dates onto action items. You know, that's how we set urgency and focus and intentions, by being clear with dates and timelines. So super teams really aren't that hard to build. As Warren Venus once said, is that our job as leaders is to make people feel like they're the very heart of things. Because you know what? They are. This organization, it's not yours. It's not mine. It's our team's organizations. It's our customers' organization that we have. Key point here, and this is the way I, as a super team everyday leader, say it. Everything I do in our organization, from the moment I walk in the morning, the moment I leave at night, I'm always trying to send the message in a genuine, authentic way. You count, and I care. And I don't know of anything that motivates me any more than that. How about you? Wow, we've had a little adventure here. We've jumped off buildings. We've been in the Marine Corps. We built a plumbing shop, for crying out loud. Who would have thought? We became a Fortune 500 defense electronics, who cares what, right? 9 businesses in my career, 3 successful, 3 not so successful, 3 okay. 4 startups or 4 turnarounds, hundreds of startups. You know, it's all about the people. It's all about helping others succeed. And I think that we best do that when we focus on clarity, on action, on purpose, and on enthusiasm. I hope that you'll take Johnny's advice. It sure has served me well in my career. I think it'll serve you as well. Trust your cape. Hey, look, don't be afraid to give me a call anytime. I know that we went through this fast. You want the slides? No problem. I'll get them to Justine. We can get them out to everybody in case you missed some notes. If you want to talk about anything in particular, for crying out loud, there's my phone number. It won't cost you a nickel. There's my email. It won't cost you a nickel either. And there's my website if you want to know what else I do and the kinds of things and the folks that I work for. It has been an honor serving you today. I thank you. Justine, I yield the mic.
Thank you so much, Ron. Does anybody have any questions that they'd like to put into the chat? If not, well, I'll give you a second or two, but we'll love for you guys to connect with Ron if you do afterwards. His information's still on the screen, and I will be sharing this presentation on our website yet this week. So if you want to go back and relive all these wonderful experiences, that will be available to you. And I don't see anything coming in, so I'm going to turn it over to Molly to close us out. Thank you so much, Ron.
My pleasure.
Thank you, Justine. Ron, I cannot tell you how much I enjoyed that presentation. I wrote down so many notes, and on behalf of the Dubuque Area Chamber of Commerce and our team, we have 3 core values. We are member success focused, we are pro-business advocates, and we are love local champions. And another thing that I picked up on is one of the things that I've shared with staff from our perspective as a team is, how can we, if I'm not excited about our organization, how can I expect anyone else to be? And so I believe that at the Dubuque Area Chamber of Commerce, we celebrate all our members, we celebrate as a team, and those were the takeaways that meant a lot to me. And I hope everybody got a lot out of this. As you said, we can share the slides with those that were here today. Thank you so much for joining us. I feel uplifted. I feel enthusiastic. Justine has something she wants to add.
We did have one question.
Oh,
Did you end up jumping off the roof after Johnny?
what else can you do? You got to follow your leader, right? And look, all in one piece, no broken bones.
Love it. Love it. That was our question. Good. We're not in suspense any longer.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us for March Power Hour. We look forward to our April Power Hour, where we will be joined by Chief Mark Dulsing, our friend and Chief of Police here in Dubuque, and he will talk about the year of 2020, policing during a pandemic and lessons learned. So stay tuned for that Power Hour next month. Leadership Dubuque, have a great day, and the rest of our chamber members that are with us, we love you, we appreciate you. Thank you so much for all you do to help create a pro-business climate, and have a wonderful day. Thank you to our sponsors. I'm on the Friedman Groups, Statera, and of course, Anderson Window Indoor. Thank you, everybody. Have a great day.